Welcome to Team DataFam Tableau User Group meeting number 51. I have to read this, it's different. This TUG aims to capture all the in-person and unrecorded presentations to give them a wider audience. So we include presentations from large conferences, small meetings, anyone who's never presented before. I don't care, everyone is welcome here. If you have something you want to present or have any other questions, please email me at team.datafam@gmail.com. But today we have Andy Cotgreave. I'm not going to introduce him. I'm assuming that most people know who Andy Cotgreave is, but it's an AMA and we'll do some celebration because it's our 51st meeting after that. But Andy has graciously accepted the offer or the challenge of doing an AMA. Ask me anything. There will be a few exceptions of what Andy cannot answer, and it's up to him to decline those questions when we get to them. If you're here live, you will see everything. If you're watching the recording or listening to the recording on the podcast, you will hear, obviously, the edited version of this. But, Andy, are you ready?
I am ready. As I say, I've got my Theakston's Old Peculiar. So cheers, everybody. Let's see what happens.
I've got a juice because it's too early in the morning to drink.
Yeah.
I should also say, Andy has not seen these questions before. I think he wanted to prepare, and I didn't want him to prepare. But I did tell him the rough topics we've got. So I've got a whole heap of questions that have been submitted before the meeting. I've broken them roughly into topics. I've credited everyone who asked the questions. It's not just questions from me, it's questions from everybody. But at some times I'll cut in to let the audience ask questions if you want to live, if you've got some questions there. And if people are online and your question pops up, if you're happy to, you can read that out. But let's go. So obviously some exceptions. So on the subject of IronViz, the first question is from Sam. Is Sam here? I didn't see Sam. I don't think Sam's here.
Of all the IronViz finalist visualizations over the years,
I'll read the question.
Okay, sorry. Okay, you can read them in future. But, I've just read this one. Yeah. Which one would I have on my wall at home? Okay, well, I started hosting IronViz in 2018. I mean, and I attended. I didn't see the first 2 IronVizes, maybe the first 3. I can tell a little story about one of those if you want. So memory has faded most of them. So I think anything before 2019, I just can't remember. It wasn't Lindsay Poulter. Was it Lindsay? Lindsay did the drag and drop thing. And was it Lindsay who and she did a really businessy dashboard? I can't remember what it was. I think it was in 2019. That was very, very beautiful. I'm gonna get that's the one that's come to my hand. It was Lindsay. I think it was Lindsay. It might not have been. Anyway, she did a businessy style dashboard in 2019. It was the year that we had a tie, and she was the only person who didn't win out of the 3. Bit of a disaster scoring, really. And so bizarrely, the one that sticks in my head is the one that was least IronVizzy. God, what a strange answer. There you go. That's my answer. If anyone's got other ones, I mean, God, this. But I one that I vividly remember from the feeders actually is, I think it might be Lindsay's as well, was the musical Valence of Broadway. That was stunning because it was boring bar charts made exquisitely beautiful. So it wasn't overburdened with text. It wasn't a long form story. It was just a bunch of bar charts beautifully laid out and annotated with exceptional white space. So I think there you go.
That's cool. I don't know if I added my question in, but did you want to drill down on your funny story? And was that 2019 or was it?
No. So 2015, IronViz was still a break. No, 2014, IronViz was still a breakout session, right? And I was scheduled at the same time as IronViz, and I was very depressed because I was like, "Oh, I'm against IronViz," and I was doing a talk all about Willard Cope Brinton. In fact, can I share my screen, Chris?
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, Willard Cope Brinson. So basically, this is a book that came out in 1914, which is literally reads and feels exactly the same as a book you would buy today, right? And it was an amazing talk to do. And so I'm next door to IronViz doing my history talk, right? And it was in Las Vegas. So all the breakout sessions were divided by, it's a massive hangar in a Las Vegas hotel. So they're very thick walls, but they're not 100% soundproof, especially if the neighboring room is IronViz and is cheering loudly like a bunch of frat kids. So I'm in my session trying to do my history lesson. And I made a joke at the start saying, well, thank you everybody who's come. You're the Michelin star attendees, and they're the Big Maccas next door in IronViz. Anyway, so we're on our way. And then, I'm in mid profound statement, and then you just hear, "Ray!" Rowdy cheers from next door. And I'm like, well, this is very disturbing. So it happened twice, and I was like, okay, everybody, to my audience, let's do something stupid. Let's do something stupid. The next time we hear a cheer, you're all going to cheer 10 times as loud. So we're plodding along. I'm talking about Brinson, and there's a cheer. And I'm like, right, okay, go for it. And it was great. I had a really full room, but everybody just cheered to the top of their voices. And so we gave the IronViz team what they were giving us. And it was a good time. So there you go.
And 2019?
2019. So that was, let's see if we can find a picture of IronViz 2019. So that was probably the IronViz that had the biggest budget ever. And we're plodding along. We're having an absolutely fantastic time. And at about some point, I say, well, I'm not going to go through it, but I say, what are the scores? It's time to announce the scores. And I look at the production team in front of me, and they're just doing this sort of throat slash move, right? And I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on, right? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I have to look at the audience and go, well, we haven't got the scores. And clearly this is a moment which should be terrifying, because I've got 6,000 people in front of me and they want to know the IronViz scores and I haven't got them. It took 9 minutes for them to sort out a scoring fiasco behind skin. Basically, there was a tie in the scores and we'd made no rules for a tiebreaker. And it turns out they were having a bit of a row over how to solve it. But what happened? I mean, by this time, I'd been doing public speaking for the best part of 10 years, and Tableau had invested hugely in public speaking. And I had that moment where I realized I needed to do something to keep the show going, and I felt, well, I've got this. I know what to do. I know how to run the show. I know how to direct the cameras to people who might want to talk. And so I managed to. So it was an absolute career highlight, because I sort of managed somehow to keep the show going, and then it was a tie, and it was all very good. And I can't remember. Was it Lindsay? Can somebody correct me? Was it Lindsay? Who was the third? No. I've got a feeling.
There was Josh and I can't.
Oh, it was Sarah. Oh, Sarah's saying yes, it was Lindsay, right? So yeah, Sarah's put the link to. Let's see if my memory is correct, that it is beautiful. That's okay. I think it's her feeder that I remember. Anyway, so there you go. That's there you go. This is the one I was talking about. This is what won her entry onto the final IronViz. I just think, it's not all bar charts, but there's nothing elaborate going on here, and yet it's gorgeous. Really beautiful piece of work. All right, there you go.
And my perspective of 2019 is you sort of look out to the audience and say, and we've got a winner. And I was like, absolute front row. And about 4 rows back, there's a lady with a headset who's obviously staff. She's got a clipboard, she's got a headset, and she's like yelling into this headset saying, we need a result.
Yes.
And another minute or two, we need a result. And she's just going crazy that they don't have a result. And then talking to Mark, who was actually in the back room trying to get the results, and he said every time we did the calculations, we came up with the same score. Like you've got 3 competitors, the score has to be different, and it was the same every single time they ran the calculation. and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And in the end, they went, it's a tie. And we've got two people, and we've got one trophy.
But here's another thing. I remember, so Lindsay didn't win Iron Viz, but somebody walked on the stage immediately after Iron Viz, before she'd even got off the Iron Viz stage, and offered her a job because she built a businessy style thing that somebody could see as applicable on their own business. So who really won Iron Viz in 2019?
Exactly. Everyone wins. There's no lose. That's always the case.
All right.
Easy.
Ooh, Sam, Sam's here. That was a harder question.
That was question one.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Next question from Sam as well. Was there any interesting behind-the-scenes challenges in Iron Viz that the audience never knew about? Maybe we've just covered that.
Well, that was certainly the biggest. I'll tell you that my first Iron Viz in 2018, we had a speaker coach who not everybody liked, but I liked him, Richard Cleese. He transformed my career, right? And we had CMO Adriana, brilliant woman, one of the best leaders I ever worked for at Tableau, feisty Venezuelan. Richard Cleese was a big bombastic ex-actor. And we had the head of keynotes, Tina, now works at AWS, also one of my dearest colleagues, right? And so we did a rehearsal at about 11 o'clock in the morning. And this is my first Iron Viz. And Adriana was like, oh, Andy was a bit shit. So they're like, we're going to do another dress rehearsal. And I'd be like, why are we doing this? And they're like, well, we didn't know if you were any good, Andy. Well, it wasn't quite like that, but that was what I heard. So I'm like, well, is another dress rehearsal with 3 hours to go really going to help? So we do another dress rehearsal. And then I remember, so we finished the dress rehearsal, and then I'm stood on stage, slightly stressed and exhausted, like an hour and a half from going live. And I remember, what I vividly remember is in front of me, I've got Richard Cleese, bombastic actor, going, you were talking too loud, da da da. I've got Adriana, my manager and feisty Venezuela, going, you were talking too quietly. And Tina saying, who's in charge of keynotes and somebody I respect, saying, you were not saying enough words. And I remember I threw an absolute tantrum, right? I mean, they were really worried that I was just going to essentially walk off. I was like, fuck off, all of you. I was just like, toys out of the pram, prima donna. And anyway, I walked out on stage. It was absolutely brilliant, that 2018. And I think a lot of that was down to the suit I was wearing. I remember Jewel had this ridiculously gorgeous green sequin dress. That crazy blue paisley suit. Nobody had ever seen me in anything like that before. Amazing shoes. And I remember that intake of breath as we walked out on stage. It was like, oh, they've upped their game. And it's like, well, that was all I needed. I needed the crowd, you see. That was it. So, yeah. So did that turn out to be an actual issue with the scoring in IV29? No, it was a tie, as far as I remember. I think down to the 10th decimal point or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
It was
all right. Tableau 2022 first conference back after COVID. So there's only one keynote stage, right? And there's Iron Viz and the Tableau keynote. And the Tableau keynote gets all the execs and the CEO, so the important people. And what had happened over many years is Iron Viz rehearsals like, oh, sorry, your Iron Viz rehearsal has been cut short because they're still doing the keynote. And it drove me absolutely crazy because it's like, well, is Iron Viz a keynote or not, right? Give me equal power. Or not equal power, give me equal time on stage because we've got contestants, we've got customers, we've got 15 people. But in 2022, we got to our final rehearsal. We had not had any onstage time, and we spent the entire final rehearsal slot waiting for them to solve some technical problems to the point that we got to the end of that rehearsal slot, and we had not rehearsed Iron Viz on stage. Now, we had rehearsed behind stage a lot, but there had been no onstage rehearsal. So I'm backstage at the start of 2022 being like, who the hell knows? We just hadn't even seen the graphics running together. It's like, who the hell knows what's going to happen? And it all went great, but oh my God. It was pretty terrifying. There you go. There's some good ones.
Awesome. Okay, Next question. I'm not crediting everyone, but you can see the name on the card as well. Okay, that was the only InViz type questions. Switching into Tableau. First question from Will. Why not 15 whole years? Everyone knows what this means, I think.
I left Tableau after 14 years, 11 months and 10 days. No, and 29 days. I was 10 days short of 15 years, which to data analyst crowds is somewhat, it's like, it leaves that like shiver down one spine. I mean, you know, so my data analyst answer is, well, you do a round calculation, it becomes 15, it's fine. The boring answer that I will say on the record is it was also to do with payroll, and it was easier to leave at the end of August than leak it out another 10 days. I'll say no more.
Awesome.
But it is Twitch inducing, isn't it? It's just like 10 days, Andy, 10 more days.
Awesome. Next question from Fee. Fee, you're online. Do you want to ask a question?
Oh, Fee, that's a great one.
She was online. Here she goes.
Hey, Andy. Thanks so much. It's so lovely to see you again.
Thank you.
I won't chew the oxygen up, but of all the design levers you write about, which one do you think that teams underuse the most?
That's a really interesting question because there's various ways one can answer it, right? So what are we talking about? If you don't know the levers.
How do you get this stuff so quickly?
Oh, it's a skill I've learned over many years. That's not a helpful answer to people trying to. Although I don't know. I just click open and search for the title, and often it turns up.
It's not Notebook LM or something.
No, that would be way slower than my own memory and my typing. My levers, you know, over many years, for those that don't know, I did for a long time just say, what's the right chart? What's the right chart? Oh, the answer is it depends, right? Okay. Oh, that's not actually in this deck. And then correctly, a lot of people said, well, okay. Oh, yeah. What's the best chart? It depends. That's not a good answer. It's like, well, okay, what does it depend on? And over time, I came up with all this list of things that I then shoehorned into an acronym, which is the levers model of visual design. So you got level of detail, emotion, vagueness, exploration, explanation, rapidity or sneakiness. Right. So what was the question? The question was, which one do people underuse? Well, I think emotion is used the most rarely in a business environment, right? So here is a boring bar chart showing air quality in Sheffield. The high bar shows bonfire night when we all light fireworks. Here is the same data rendered as a necklace by Stephanie Posovich and Miriam Quick, intended to bring the gist of data to people who don't give a toss about data in the center of Sheffield, right? You know, you get a feeling and a sense of the data, which is really good. So I think that's underused because I practically, you know, most of our business life, we don't use it. We don't need it. But there are times you can lean into emotion legitimately when you're presenting data if you're trying to persuade, possibly not always making a necklace, but otherwise. I think the ones that boil my blood are when people use the wrong chart for these, right? So they paste a complicated dashboard. You know, they use a dashboard like this in a presentation and assume people can pass 96 pieces of information in 15 seconds and know what the hell they're talking about. And that kind of goes with the same one. It's like that they put a complicated chart in front of somebody and expect them to understand it quickly. So I think E&R are the ones that are misused or used incorrectly, and emotion is underused for practical and understandable reasons. What do you think, Fee?
I think that people tend to go for things that are more complex because as developers, we like to see a bit of visual interest coming through, because we're doing this all the time and we're not thinking of the person that's coming in for 15 seconds and really trying to understand things. So I would say rapidity is the thing that they do poorly. And just seeking a bit of mental interest, whereas I think the simplicity is something that people should really aim for. And how can I elegantly communicate the data in the best way that people can understand what's important?
It's a really good point. On top of that, as well, as sometimes you can be like, "Oh, I'm a data analyst, so I've got to show complexity." It's like, no, the genius. This is like, once one becomes wise, the lesson that less is more is a beautiful lesson to reach.
It is. Thanks, Andy.
I mean, thank you.
We've got a lot of Tableau
Sarah.
questions. Does anyone cut in and ask a question? Unmute now.
I do.
Yes,
All right.
go.
What's the thing you're going to miss most about working at Tableau? Outside of Iron Viz.
Oh God, the community. I mean, it's without a shadow of a doubt, and that is the answer, right? The founders of Tableau built a company based on a mission, and the early employees of Tableau realized that they would create a tidal wave of joy if they encouraged the community. So the Tableau community was a very conscious strategic investment by Tableau, because they were geniuses, the founders, and they also had built a product that just was fun to use and was hackable and playable and touchable and tactile. And that absolutely transformed my career, right? From organizing a user group in 2008 to speaking at 2010 to making deep, long friendships with so many people. I was at Tableau DataFam Europe in London these last 2 days. And then, right, so then to qualify the answer, one of the things that has touched me really deeply is, and I obviously, is once one leaves Tableau or once one leaves whatever job one was doing as a Tableau developer, you don't stop being part of that connection to the community. So it's been amazing continuing that connection in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, that's the one thing. In terms of more sort of practical life at Tableau things, over 15 years, one of the most rewarding things about work at Tableau from a sort of personal development perspective was the depth of research and care about the cognitive science, the philosophy, the biology, the art, all the multidisciplines that went into making a product that people loved. That very, very much fell to the wayside in recent years, but I'd say that's a huge, intellectually, that was a massive part of why I liked working at Tableau. It's a great question, Anne. Love that.
Thank you. Thanks for answering it.
Thank you. Thanks, Ilya.
Viraj asks, what's the biggest dashboard mistake you still see in 2025?
The biggest dashboard mistake. Well, I just did a 5 tips for I just did this talk yesterday at the thing. This is me stalling because I'm not sure I know what the answer is, right? When we started writing dashboards that deliver, we said, we found that we did a survey and it turned out most people think dashboards fail. And since we asked our network, and most of our network have bought the big book of dashboards 8 years ago, it seems a bit sad that that's their answer. As we surveyed them and dug into it, it's because people dive into development and they don't spend enough time talking to users deeply before they get into the dev phase. So I'd say from a process perspective, that's an answer I can confidently give. In terms of a dashboard mistake, You know, I don't know. I don't know. It's just designing the wrong dash. It's designing. It might be even designing the right dashboard for the wrong people. So it comes down to understanding your users and like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've just realised that I hope that made sense, because I thought I was sharing my screen then, but I wasn't sharing my screen. There were pictures to go with my words, but hopefully that made sense. Anyway. Okay, good. Yes. So, awesome. Yeah, good question, Viraj. That's as good as I can get.
Easy. That's fine. Next question is from, because I'm just reading from the screen as well. Me. There you go. Can you remember when the term "it depends" was first used, and is it the universal answer for everything?
All right. So, because I do remember that one, I can answer that one. Well, here's the answer. So this is the answer when I first started using it. When I first started learning about data visualization, I just assumed that the people at Excel knew what they were doing and that columns and 3D pies were the right answer, right? Pros, right? Why would these developers put stupid chart options in front of me on the ribbon and the toolbar? And then after a little while, in fact, let's go into presentation mode. And then I was beginning to find Tableau, and I found this thing from extremepresentations.com, and it said, "What would you like to show?" And I was like, "What? You can choose what to show in a chart?" And then you expand, and this thing, this piece of paper, which sat on my office cubicle desk, transformed everything, because I was like, "Oh, you actually have agency when you build a chart." Didn't realize that. I thought you just pressed a button in Excel. So over time, then I became a Stephen Few zealot. I was like, "Oh, Stephen Few's the man." I met him at Tableau conference. He became something of a friend for several years. And I was like, he's the man, right? Data viz should be pure and precise. That's it. Andy Cotgreave in 2010 was like, pure, precise. Ooh, dry. But at the same time, David McCandless was publishing these books and selling tens of thousands of copies. And I was like, well, if he's wrong, because you can't interpret these charts accurately, they're garbage. But somehow he's like, well, he's selling thousands of books, Andy. So I had an epiphany, and in October 2014, wrote this in the Huffington Post. It was, how do you tell the data viz expert from the amateur? The answer to the question of what is the right chart is it depends. So for me, I mean, I haven't seen these questions before, by the way. For me, the answer, it was October 2014, and that was the answer. It depends. In fact, in fact, and then it became this sort of cliche answer that everyone goes, "Oh, well, Andy says it depends," and eventually somebody said, Nick said, "Yeah, but come on, we're professionals. You need a better answer than that," and that led to the levers that we were talking about. So for me, October 2014. And I mean, but it basically, if you go into most disciplines, certainly most consultancy disciplines, the answer is it depends when the consultants want things.
Definitely. And I started using Tableau in September 2014, so that's why I've always heard it, because it's always been there for me.
Right. Good question. Chris McClellan, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Well, and again, I was on the forums in like September, October, November 2014, and there's this guy called Andy Cotgreave who just always answered my questions at night. It's like, why does he do that? Like, oh, he lives in the UK, because everyone just lived in the US, right? I'm like, this guy lives in the UK. Who's this guy? Oh, and he works for Tableau. Oh, okay. And followed you ever since, obviously.
Yeah.
Next question is from Sam. Sam's not online. What's the most surprising thing you've learned from a customer or Tableau user?
Jeepers. I'll tell you a lesson. Tell you a lesson I learned. This isn't quite an answer to the question, but something that did make me check my ego. We went to pitch Tableau to a very, very big bank, and they built something in Tableau as a prototype, and they're like, they want to go in and have a chat about what they've built. This was a little bit before I wrote that It Depends thing, so I was still a Stephen Few zealot. And they'd put pie charts on the dashboard, and I was like, yeah, you know, you shouldn't be using pie charts. And we ended up getting in an argument because he was like, I want to use pie charts. I was trying to be all this high and mighty visual cognition, data encoding, pre-attentive attributes. And it was just not a pleasant meeting. And my account executive gave me an absolute bollocking afterwards. She's like, whatever you think in these situations, sometimes pie charts are fine, and if the customer wants them, they're fine. So I think, you know, I'm sure many of us on this call have gone through this fight and this recognition that whatever the rights or wrongs of pie charts, I mean, sometimes they're fine anyway. You know, we shouldn't banish pie charts, but if the client wants pie charts, let them eat pie, right? I call this the wireframe trap. So this is something I wrote about in, oh, hang on, let me share my screen. This is something I wrote about it in the book. So in 2012, I was sent to Rotterdam. Andy, they've worked with Jan Willem Tulp. He's a data viz expert. He is a data viz expert. He's great. And they've prototyped a dashboard. Go and build it. And if you build it well, they will buy Tableau. I'm like, all right. Whew. I'm a young, hot pre-sales consultant. I can do that. So I turn up to Rotterdam bright and early in the morning. I remember it was pissing down with rain. I built the dashboard in about 5 hours, and it looked like this, right? It looked garbage. And they didn't buy Tableau. But it's like, I built what they asked for. They had wireframed with Sharpies and color and sketching this beautiful trend line, this beautiful bar chart, and this wonderful perfect correlation between two measures. But their data was absolute garbage. Or well, parts of their data were garbage, and parts of their data just didn't have the thing in it that those charts were built to support. So my protestations were like, you might need to ask different questions, or you might need to go and clean your data. We're met with, well, your dashboard looks crap. So I flew home from Rotterdam. So with having lost that deal. So that what I learned there was the wireframe trap. You know, wireframes are amazing. I don't want to put you off drawing wireframes, but get the real data in there early, because otherwise you might be building, your data just might not contain the answers that dashboard is designed for. And there are great wireframes in dashboards that deliver. I support wireframes, but not without data early. Good question.
Thank you. Oh, they're all good questions, right?
Yeah. Hopefully the answers are good.
And then something like this.
Oh my God.
from Barrage, if you could ban one chart type from Tableau forever, what would it be?
I mean, I'm not sure I need the screen for this, but I'll just share Tableau anyway. Does anybody remember the bubble chart debacle? Does it just say yes or no? Anyway, well, whether you remember, all right, hang on, let me see if I can find Tableau fees from the past. Sorry, I'm looking at a different window. Sorry, I'm Googling something Stephen Few wrote. Let me see if I can find it on there. All right, okay. So Tableau was well known for its first 10 years of existence for adhering to the Stephen Few view of the world. You know, austere, dry, inject insight into the brain visuals. That's why we had bar charts, album listens. This is my Spotify data. Let's make a bar chart, right? You know, so everything was about, look at that. It's 10 years, and Frozen is still the second most listened to album of my 12 years of Spotify. That's so depressing. Anyway, right. So we adhered to boring bar charts, and that was awesome. And then in Tableau version 8, we created, oh bloody hell, right? We we added the bubble chart and the text word cloud, right? And I remember I was still a Stephen Fewian at that point, and Stephen Few wrote this: Tableau veers from the path. I've seen it many times. It never ceases to sadden me. An organization starts with a clear vision, and the vision blurs, and excellence gets diluted through a series of compromises. So this was, he wrote all these words about how we'd veered from the path. Now, I remember Chris Stolte, one of the co-founders, he had a brilliant defense against this, saying that, sometimes the gist of the data is fine, right? If you only want to see which is the biggest, there's not that much wrong with a packed bubble, but don't put this on a dashboard if somebody needs to see the accurate data decoded. Anyway, so Stephen Few absolutely hated this. You might, anyway, here's a little thing. Can anybody remember who's the first person to comment on this blog? Anyway, look at all these words he wrote. Look at all these, blimey. Wow. First person, Andy Cotgreave. I couldn't agree more with your perspective on Tableau 8, he said. Andy gave us a load of shit as well for this. Anyway, I can't even remember what the question was, but that's that seemed to be a trigger for that answer. Oh yeah, so so if I could ban one chart, I would never ban word clouds or text or bubble charts, because they have their place when used correctly. Even pie charts, Celia. I've chilled out. Anyway,
that's fine.
So pie chart, feel free in chat to tell me which other mellowed. Yes, which other charts should be banned.
That's okay. I don't mean to cut you down, but we've gone through about 5% of the questions, but we're halfway through the meeting.
Oh my God, am I
right.
talking? Steve Wexler just did a speaking analysis of the last 28 episodes of Chart Chat on who speaks the most. It's hilarious. All right, I'll go quicker.
No, that's fine. That's easy. It's just an observation. It's okay. Viraj also says, because I couldn't actually.
Oh my God!
Nicely interleave all the different people that ask questions. I've tried to where I can. What's the one feature you've struggled with when you first learned it? One Tableau feature.
Tableau table calculations, and I still struggle with them. I still could not tell you what partitioning and whatever the other term means. And when I write a table calculation, I essentially iterate through every percentile option until I get something that looks like the right answer, and I've never understood them. I used to be a DBA. I spent a good 5 years of my career writing SQL, but for some reason, and so partitioning and that stuff, I get it in SQL. I just couldn't grok it at all in Tableau. Even the documentation probably wouldn't have saved me. I then struggled a little bit with LOD calcs, but LOD calcs I found easier.
Definitely.
I'm also thanks for the advice, Andy, but I'm also reconciled with the fact that I'm never going to learn them. So
easy. Viraj also asks, what is your favorite underrated Tableau feature?
Does anyone know the swap fields feature? This is a terrible feature, but very few people know about it for reason, because it's just not a very good feature. But buried. Oh, hang on, let's make it. I have to make it a bar chart. Or maybe I have to make it a timeline. Have I got a timeline? Okay, here's my Spotify listening history. That's not going to work either. So there's this little feature here. You can swap the rows of the columns, and what it's going to do is basically it's going to move fields around from one shelf to another, right? In this case, it's just rotating a bar chart. But what it's done there is rotate the fields, and the purpose of this feature was that you've got these things on a chart, and in a way you want to animate, you want to see the differences in different places. It's like show me, but with just a single button. Show me different views of this, which is a brilliant intention, but the execution it's kind of hidden. What happens is hidden behind this button, and you press it and you're like, what the hell happened? So you couldn't really, there was no cognitive way to see or interpret the change very easily. But I've just always loved that it's still there, and it's this vestigial, like the appendix of Tableau. There you go. It's the appendix of Tableau.
I've just got to cut you off there, because the same as what's happening in the chat is just like, I was using this last night, and you're clicking off the menu all the time, and obviously the chat is saying just Control W, either the button or Control W, Because one of the slides
do you know what was going through my do you know what was going through my brain there? I was as I was continuing my story, and then I was looking at this going, I've never once noticed it's got too much shortcuts.
and the funny thing is, even when I'm teaching, so if you're actually, or when I'm teaching Tableau for the first time, and you're trying to teach rows and columns, and people don't understand rows and columns, you know what? Chuck them up there. Just press Control W for me. So if you build the bar, if you build the chart the wrong way, just can you press Control W? If you build the chart and it looks like this, just press Control W, because then it will make things work better. And everyone goes,
wait. I'm talking about the wrong feature. Sorry, I'm talking about cycle fields. Right, I'm talking about cycle. Yeah, sorry. Rewind. I'm not talking about SWOT. I'm talking about cycle fields. Right. So everything I said was about cycle fields, not swap rows. Right.
Cool.
Cycle fields it moves the fields around. Sorry. Yes. I do know Control W. Anyway. Cycle fields. That's the one I was trying to describe.
And now I agree with everyone else in the chat. Never seen it, never used it. Yep, you're right. That's the most underrated, unknown feature.
Build a chart with like a couple of dimensions and a couple of measures on it, and just do cycle fields. And you would use it to just cycle through different perspectives. You know, when we are dragging and dropping stuff onto views, you know, we're that's going to kill Tableau, right? But we are just trying to see different perspectives, and it was an effort to try and accelerate and facilitate that.
Next question from Viraj again. What's the one question you wish people would stop asking about dashboards?
How can we stop people? No, well, how can we stop people downloading to Excel? I wish we could stop that happening. I don't think we ever will. I think the question I get asked is, my users just want to look at the table. They won't even look at my dashboards. I'm always happy to answer that one, but it just kills me that we all find ourselves in that situation. And then why is it so slow? That's the third one, because I like making pretty pictures more than I like optimizing data sources. So I'm like, now I've got to think about the data layer to get the answer to that one. There you go.
Awesome. Next question, I'll throw to Scott.
Yeah, that was under a minute. That was the shortest answer yet. Scott.
Came across an article you wrote in 2013 about what a data analyst team can learn from Star Trek, which I thought was a great article, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. And you referenced the original series. So my question for you on that was, and kind of in continuation of that, what do you think a data analyst team or data visualization professionals can learn from the current iteration of Star Trek that's out there?
What a question. Again, because I'm now hedging my way to not knowing an answer to the question. All right, well, I know what my answer is. So here, look at this. My motto, I realized about 6 years ago, my motto is to inform, educate, and entertain. You know, I was enabled to do that by leadership at Tableau, and it's been a great part of life in the meantime. Oh, they've taken the images off it. There were loads of fun images on that, but anyway, they've gone. You know what my answer is I'm 53 years old, and I don't know the modern Star Trek as much as I know the old Star Trek, right? So I think I kind of stalled deep knowledge of Star Trek around the Next Generation, and yeah, that's about as So I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But now, I don't know. Can you answer? Do you know, Scott? What would you answer the question? Can I share my screen again, Chris? By the way, while he's doing that.
Yeah, I can definitely give it from my perspective, because I'm definitely an avid Star Trek fan. I've watched every iteration. I've already talked with Chris about this quite a bit as well. I think from my perspective, what I would say is just the curiosity aspect of it. Just being willing to be curious. And I do agree in the article you had that, it can the trek for data can seem long and winding to get to where you need to go, but the fun of the journey is great, and how you get to some of those analyses and some of the things you do. So just having that curious mindset, like they do, to where they want to go explore strange new worlds and new alien races and things like that, you can have that same kind of passion and do that with just your search for knowledge and your search for data, and solving
I guess
problem.
we could also add, I mean, one of the things that has has been present in all Star Treks is diverse crews, right? Diverse crews give you diverse and successful outputs. But I will share this. This was a highlight. I went to a data event. They literally hired Data to do a keynote. He turned up. He's like, I don't know why you've hired me, but I'll talk about my life on Star Trek. And I mean, and everybody there was like, that's good enough for us. So I did meet Brent Spiner, who played Data in Next Generation for anybody who is under 30 years old.
Awesome. The next question is Fred. It's a long one.
Wow.
Something that the community is concerned about is the lack of innovation with Tableau Desktop, and some people think it might be being left behind or dropped completely. Salesforce execs try to reassure us, but it might just be marketing BS. When you see that Salesforce is proud to launch rounded corners, I think it says it all. Salesforce marketing is all about AI, but that is still limited. Tableau Desktop is still a huge pain to do any formatting. So I guess my question is, did you leave because you were frustrated by this lack of innovation too?
I'm going to mostly decline to answer that question, and you can read into that what you want.
That's cool.
I appreciate, Fred, you writing a long question.
I couldn't. What did you
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That's fine. We'll move on.
Yeah. Great question, though, Fred. Love it.
Another long question that this is the questions that were submitted to me, and I just want to get the phrasing and the prefacing right as well. So there's been a lot of development going on with Tableau Next and AI features, which is exciting. But after speaking with other Tableau users, it feels like the core products, Desktop and Prep, are lagging behind. What are the plans to develop and improve the core Tableau products to keep them competitive with other BI tools in the market? And there are many great ideas and suggestions posted by the community that have the potential to really improve the core products. Will some of them be implemented?
Right. So I feel slightly more comfortable answering some of these questions, and some of these answers might link to the previous questions. So, first of all, the Tableau code base is 23, 24, 25 years old, right? Any code base of the Tableau core product just becomes harder and harder and harder and harder to maintain, right? So features that seem really blindingly obvious and really simple. It's like, oh, change the way filters apply across the board. It's like, that sounds so simple. It just becomes a challenge through the baggage of legacy code. ClickView have gone through this. It's kind of one of the aspects of the innovator's dilemma, and it is something that Tableau is going through. So that's a challenge that Tableau faces, and any tech firm that's been a leader with a code base for 20 years faces. I competed in DataFam Slam at DataFam Europe in the last 2 days. I was the surprise special guest team member of Team DataFam. So there were four lightning tips on stage. Not a single one of every single one of those tips was done in Tableau Desktop. Every single one of those could have been shown on stage about 7 or 8 years ago. That, I think, was very interesting. Yes, there is a perception internally among DataFam, among our competitors, that the core products are lagging behind. We can discuss about Salesforce strategy around that, but in fact, I won't. One of the questions Southard Jones, who's the Tableau CPO, answered in True to the Core yesterday. He was asked, what's the question you least want to be asked in True to the Core? which is a very funny question. And the question that he least wanted to be asked was about competitive threats. And, we know the competitive threats from Power BI, but he was also, it's really clear that there's competitive threats from DBT, Snowflake. They're all building visualization capabilities. So that's a challenge. Tableau also faces a challenge from MCP, right? Tableau's investing heavily in MCP, but could it be the LLM models are just going to eat cannabis? Somehow it's going to be like a black hole for the analytics companies, because if you do it all through the LLM, do you need the actual server? And obviously I'm now ex-Tableau, so I can't actually tell you about the plans because I don't know them. But every one of you in the DataFam, if you've been using Tableau and loving Tableau core products for many years, as I have, you have felt that tension that Tableau leadership talks about Tableau Next. Tableau DataFam plays around and gets huge professional value out of Tableau Desktop, and that is a tension they still have not solved.
From Fee.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great question.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Fee. Again, hello.
It's me again. You can't get away from me. Curious to know, when critiquing a dashboard, what are the first 3 things you look at before you even touch the tool?
I know what the first thing is. I struggle to know what the answer to after that. Right. Business dashboards. I'm going to keep my answer in business dashboards, and I'm going to talk about Don Norman. Don Norman wrote one of the best books about design, Everything I Knew. He said designers make pleasurable experiences. Go read The Design of Everyday Things. It's brilliant. But hang on. Let me get to the chart I want. But in it, he says, well, what is a pleasurable experience? And he says there's 3 levels of processing that we go through as humans when we encounter anything. And the first one is visceral. You judge something based on how it looks, right? It doesn't matter if you are an engineer proud of the fact that you've got 25 charts and 16 filters on there and every color under the rainbow. If it doesn't look slick, you've already lost your audience. So it's always really interesting when people say, can you critique my dashboard, Andy? And I have this little pit in my stomach thinking, oh, they're going to load it. Am I going to see this one or am I going to see this one, right? And because how am I going to break their heart if I see this one? So I think, so then within that, that's like white space, grid layout, complete reduction of colors. I think if you did only 3 things on your layout, those would be it. Reduce the colors, design to a grid, get your white space right. Oh, there you go. Okay, that was a good answer.
Great question. Yeah. And
great question. And excellent. Love it.
On point as well.
Love it. Thank you. Oh, Sarah's got left field if there's time.
Let's go to Sarah's question.
Hi, Andy. Nice to see you.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Yeah. I think when I think of you, Andy, I think of you like running around doing a million things all at once, your hobbies, your passions, and everything in between. So how do you stay motivated for all the different things that you've got going on?
Wow. I guess I don't always. Wow, good God. Right. I don't always. Well, I'm just going to scatter some answers here. I'm pretty sure I've got ADHD. I've never diagnosed myself, but my daughter has it, and I tick all the boxes.
Welcome to the club.
Which, yeah, it's a great. Well, and it's a from my, and I think for you too, Sarah, it's a fantastic club to be in. My ADHD has enabled my success at Tableau, right? Tableau also enabled me to give me the rope to go. Just when you get distracted and create something exciting, create it and we'll share it, right? Some of the best things I ever built were ones where I should have been doing something else, but I came up with these ideas. I have crashed and burned a couple of times. ADHD. My whole personality. I'm very, very passionate. I care deeply about other people's success and other people's emotions. So when I see communities in distress, feeling tension about what's happening, to their core product and what they love, that I find it very hard to cope with that. There's a throwback to your answer, Fred, or to your question, Fred. So there are times it becomes very hard. Most of the time at Tableau, it was just like, Andy, just make amazing things. Off you go. And we were just in alignment, right? So there was no challenge in doing that. The last 18 months have been extremely tough because I felt like the things that I'm really good at were not as welcome. Or just couldn't fit in the Salesforce ecosystem. It wasn't that they're not welcome, but they didn't fit in what Salesforce wants. I will say since leaving Salesforce, suddenly I'm like re-energized because I can say I can do whatever I want and I can build whatever I want, and it's really exciting. One thing that I've also found in my career, I've had kind of a 5-year itch. I do something really deeply intensely for about 5 years and then get bored and do something else intensely. But I've been doing the data thing for 15 years now, and I'm like, am I gonna just change and do something else? I haven't hit that wall yet. So, yeah, that's a really good question. I hope that's a satisfying answer for this time of day.
Yeah, I think it makes you sound more human. You're not doing it all at once all the time. It's just when we see you.
No, and I do chill out quite a lot. You'd be surprised, but the best part of Tableau life was when there was a phase of about 8 years where work and play just blended. And I will forever be grateful for that privilege because it was amazing.
Yeah. Shows when you're passionate, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, I'm going to skip over a few of those Tableau questions, but I'm sort of thinking at the moment we might have like a part 2 of this as well. But as much as this tug doesn't really care about time limits, people can come and go as they please. I did sort of promise Andy that it was going to be an hour and a half, and we're counting down quickly. There's a few things I want to do at the end as well. So I'll move on to some data questions, and the first one is from Viraj saying, what's one habit that helped you grow as a data communicator and be the data evangelist?
What's one habit? Always practice. Take every opportunity to speak. Take every opportunity to be trained, which I did in time. I still do. Ask people open-ended but very intentional questions about feedback. People find it very hard to give great speakers feedback about their talks, and so I had to learn strategies to tell people it's okay to tell me the bits you didn't like. The biggest, if you want to be a public speaker, I think one of the other biggest lessons was have a skill or a pastime that enables something related to the skill of speaking. So for me, I became a close-up magician. And if you do close-up magic, you might be doing the same effect in front of somebody, but literally every group will react differently. And learning the skill of ensuring each group has a good time with whatever words they throw at you or whatever reactions they throw at you, directly enabled my ability to be a great Iron Viz keynoter. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Practice, learn, and be in a band, do some comedy, be a magician, do whatever it takes. Do something else that involves talking.
Yep. Awesome. From Fee, what's the most consistent human barrier you see to people using data well?
Oh, Fee, God, these are crackers. It's totally cultural, isn't it? It's what's the most consistent? That's a really hard question to answer, isn't it? I get really, really frustrated when I come across analysts and teams who say their CXO sponsored the analytics team, but then never engaged, never logged onto the dashboard. And it's like, leader, if you sponsored, you'd be engaging. Now, there might be many reasons why that person isn't engaging, which isn't actually to do with the CEO's fault at all. There might be systemic things happening there, but that just really frustrates me because people are trying their hardest, and for whatever reason, system or leadership not actually caring just is really disheartening. There you go.
Next question from me. I didn't remember it was there. What was the first database that you used, and what would you recommend to clients now?
In 1993, I did an exchange year went to Queen's University in Canada, in Kingston, Canada, for a year. I was at Edinburgh as an undergrad in Scotland, and there they had this geographical information systems thing, and I did a project measuring the depth of the ice on Lake Ontario through the winter, and I used Quattro Pro. That's the spreadsheet, but holy cow, that data ice depth project in Quattro Pro changed my life. That was where I was like, this data is amazing. So Quattro Pro. Oh yeah. Oh, you're that old as well, Sarah, huh? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
No
Quattro
worries.
Pro. Wow. Good times.
Yeah, good times. Next question from Fee. If you were starting a data literacy program from scratch today, what would you avoid that organizations still default to?
I don't know. I'm just, that is outside. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to throw that back at you, Fee, or anybody. Does anybody know what the answer to that is? That's really tough. That's a great question. Yeah, Fee, do you have an answer to that, or does anybody have an answer to that?
I heard who was it? Neil Richards talking to Zach Bowders on his podcast earlier in the week about the fact that he doesn't refer to it as data literacy. He refers to it as data fluency, and so that was he saw that as less binary. You can either be literate or not, but with fluency, there's a scale there, and that one kind of struck me. Just the terminology.
Yeah. That's a good one. Can anyone else help me out?
That's funny because I used to work with Neil, and I used to use fluency all the time at JLL, and I've asked a question with literacy here, so it just goes to show like perhaps a lack of intention and thought. I think that organizations expect for people to desire, like they currently expect people to desire to be using data, using data to be data driven. I really like Selena Fisk's opinion on it, which is be data informed, not use it to drive decisions, but be informed with data. So I think I would try and align with that, try and get people to be informed with data, because there are a lot of things that we can't capture on a dashboard, but that are still relevant to helping to make the right decisions or calls for an organization. So I think lean more into being informed than driving action.
You know why I find this question tough is because both what you said, Heather, and what you've said, Fee, is things I have said, and I'm sure you two have also said it over many years, right? I've said those phrases and those mentions at least 5 years ago. And, I showed earlier the book by Brinton 110 years ago when he was saying the same thing. And there's always this slight dark shadow that's been around, maybe for 10 years. It's like, I don't think we're ever going to win the battle. I think there's always going to be things, we can have great intent and we can influence change. But I think there are things that will always play against us as we try and improve data literacy or fluency. And then I worry, it's like, okay, so are we just repeating? Are we doing the same thing? Are we doing the right things? We might just be doing the right things, and it's only ever going to succeed X% of the way we want to go. But I can't see the revolutionary way of changing it.
I also wonder whether it's self-serving as well. Like we have a bias towards data because we work in data, and so we want people to be fluent in the language that we speak. And so is that something that we should be pushing and advocating all of the time, or is that just serving what our needs are?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, good question, Fee. Celia advocates knowing your audience as well. I'm big advocate of that. And I'm enjoying the word perfect reminiscences in the thing. I knew all the F keys. Oh man, I was an F3, F6. I was genius.
Yeah,
Next
I won't go down that rabbit hole. That's a few hours of talking. Different subject. Books. So again, Fee Crocker asking a question. That's cool. I needed questions. It was fine. So you've co-authored 2 major books. What did you change your mind about between the Big Book of Dashboards and Dashboards That Deliver?
I've got an answer. I'm not sure it's quite the question, the answer you were digging for here, Fee. But we wrote the Big Book of Dashboards, and we very deliberately wrote it. Well, we intentionally wrote it about design and how to lay things out or design the charts to fulfill a task, right? So it was a visualization and design approach, and the scenarios reflected that, and the front section reflected that. And then, not a common response to that, but we got enough feedback. It's like, well, that's great, but how do you build them? What's the process? And then through meeting Amanda, we realized she really knew her stuff, and that there was enough value to write another book that focuses on the process. And working, so I worked closely with Amanda on that first section of Dashboards That Deliver, which is the whole description of the framework. And so I learned so many things that I wish I'd known when I was a customer. My gosh, if I'd have had Dashboards That Deliver back in 2007, life would have been good. Life was good anyway. Life would have been better. I feel like you might be digging at. So did I change my mind? I found myself on a path of just giving no hoots about what we call things and semantics and definitions. I spent many years really plowing Stephen Few's line. And then I realized, I don't care. You call it a dashboard. I don't really care. I'm not going to impose on anybody what a dashboard should be. What you should build should satisfy your users' needs so that they can get the information they need in the shortest time possible for them of their time. Single screen, multi-screen, multiple reports, pie charts, donut charts. If it works, that's great. So I think I was on that path as Big Book of Dashboards came out, and I have continued to follow that path.
I think Andy Holt wants to interrupt and
all right,
and post a complaint.
Complaint question. I'm not sure. I just got a question about the books, Andy. When the second one was delivered, I put them next to each other, and they're different sizes. Please, can you explain why that's the case?
Well, Andy, you know what that tells me? You're a superhero, and you bought an early edition of the Big Book of Dashboards.
Oh, really? Okay.
Here is a first edition of the Big Book of Dashboards next to Dashboards That Deliver. They are different sizes. About 2 years ago, we shrunk the Big Book of Dashboards. So they are the same size if you buy Big Book of Dashboards now. And the reason for that is paper got really expensive.
And that's my next question. So the paper quality changed as well, right? From the one to the other on the early print. That explains it.
And they're like, much. You guys wrote a really big fat book. We need to shrink it. So for all you early adopters, I'm really sorry. Maybe we'll do a special edition for the first edition owners, but they are contemporary versions of the same size.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Again, I'm looking at time. My question without the notice is, can we actually do a part 2 of this and skip all the other questions, or we'll just go over time or something? I want to get to the end of.
If people are happy to, I'm more than happy to. That would be great. If
I'm just going to cherry pick some of these questions because I'm sorry, Fred. I'm not going to ask yours. That'll be on a different thing. Let's move to the future and Wendy's question, which will take a while to answer as well. I think this might be the last question. One of Andy's recent posts made an interesting point about dashboard versus LLM-based querying. He noted that dashboards will always play a crucial role in quickly reporting what is happening, and that it's unrealistic to expect users to run a natural language query every time they need an update. With that in mind, what's the ideal implementation of an LLM chat interface against a data source look like in Andy's view, and how does he see it complementing rather than replacing traditional dashboards?
My gosh. First of all, Jacob, don't be ashamed that you have a small edition of the Big Book of Dashboards. We're all friends here. Oh, Wendy. I'm gonna refer back to the previous answer, right? There are you're literally asking what are the situations. There are situations in which you need that fast, instant access to data, which is just conveyable much more fast, much more quickly. I mean, take a car. If you're approaching a speed trap and you want to know if you're going too fast and you have to ask ChatGPT how fast you're going, you've passed the speed trap and you've got a speeding ticket. Obviously, no, you haven't got a speeding ticket because none of us speed, right? So what are all the situations where you're just like, I know the question I'm going to ask and I know what it needs to look like so I can compare against yesterday. It's like, I don't want to ask that same question every day by typing into ChatGPT or any other LLM-based analytics product. So I think that's one answer. And so then that leads on to, I think the ideal implementation of LLMs is the unknown unknowns. And, everyone thinks that was a Dick Cheney quote. No knowns, known unknowns, unknown unknowns. But he stole that quote from NASA. So let's reclaim it from that monster that was Dick Cheney and give it back to the NASA people who first came up with it. Because I think if you've got a really robust data source with a really good semantic layer on top of it, two very big ifs, then asking unanticipated questions on that data source through an LLM with caveats is actually pretty good, and is in many situations faster than you can do in Tableau. Certainly, if you're not a Tableau expert. There you go. That's my answer. Great question, Wendy.
Easy.
And Ilya's got some good comments there as well. Yep.
Cool. I think we'll skip the rest of the questions. We'll get to those in another one. There's plenty of questions here.
Look at them. They look great as well.
If you don't know how to contact Andy, these are the two links I had about a dozen links on this screen. He said, no, only two, the newsletter or LinkedIn. That's cool. We'll move on to the next section, which is a quick review. I'm going to make it a quick review of what this tug has done in a year. Well, 9 months, because we only started in March. My idea was that there's a lot of in-person events that you just can't see the content for unless you're there. What really kicked this tug off is I saw a tug doing an in-person presentation. I went, oh my God, I would love to see that content. And I've been joking about a tug in my area for a long time. I just went, can I do this? Can I go and find people that have done in-person presentations somewhere, bring them all into a tug? Can I do that? Can I do even this sort of thing? If I go to TC, or when I used to go to TC, my DataFam immersions sort of look like this. In one random week of the year, TC changes all the time, it's just 50 hours of max DataFam stuff. And I could do this. I had this nicely animated in Tableau, but I couldn't get it to be embedded in Google Sheets properly. But basically take, if I go back, 50 hours in 1 week of the year and spread it to 50 hours or 1 week for 50 weeks of the year. Sort of maths don't work, but that's okay. But just do that sort of thing, just to bring more in-person presentations online, recorded, YouTube, etc. It sort of looks like it worked. Less than 12 months, over 600 members at the moment. So some bands, because we all need bands. Our average meeting duration is 52 minutes. We've blown that today. That's cool. It's just an average. So far, we've had 25 presentations from TC. So sort of, again, the same thing. It doesn't need to be TC25. It doesn't need to be Visit Sydney. It doesn't need to be DataFam Europe. But you have to go to those presentations or go to those conferences and be there in person to see the presentations, or they're lost. But a lot of presenters want to actually show it to a wider audience, get it recorded, etc. So even on our meetings now, I never like this live attendees figure, because 824 attendees is yes, I am counting people multiple times to every meeting. So if you've been to 20 meetings, yes, I'm counting you 20 times. That's just how things work. But online views, just with the team DataFam recordings, there's over 3,200. YouTube will not give me the exact number. But we've had just over 300 hours of watch time of everything that's been online before. So what is the count D? On which one, Andy, is the count D? I can't do that. So the stats out of you, and again, data, right? So Bevy will tell me how many attendees have gone to every meeting in total. They won't dedupe that and just give me the distinct members. Maybe I could if I had more time. I just couldn't get the data in that time. So what have we done? Or what have we done? I haven't done any of this, right? I send out a form to these people. I ask them to choose a date. They come back to me with what suits them and what they want to talk about. And everyone's got memories of all of these if they think. I think at episode 10 is where I learned to use the mute button, because I was laughing so much over Will and Kyle's presentation. I would have hated to have seen that live, because that would have been hundreds of people laughing over the presentation. You don't hear joke number 4 because you're laughing too much about jokes 1, 2, and 3. Tristan's presentation, where he was worried about his time limit, because at TC you get 20 minutes or 40 minutes. I said, take as much time as you want. I think at about 70 minutes, he stopped talking and asked for questions. All these things are on YouTube. Go back and watch them. Yeah, it was crazy. A whole heap of stuff. It'll just continue next year the same way, of just, what do you want? Lewis's one, I think, was talking to Heather, maybe Jacob, maybe that group of people, about map layers and about a few other things, and came up with a presentation about that. There's just so much Tableau knowledge out there, it's ridiculous. I'm not complaining about PK's presentation. I actually saw this live at Visit Sydney. I thought it was awesome. It was really short and it was really funny and I loved it. And when she came and did that on the tug, there wasn't very many people here. She was a little bit disappointed. The view numbers within the first 48 hours was just through the roof. And it's the same as we've got now, is we've got a lot of people registered, not many people show up. That's okay, and that happens to every tug. There's enough tug leaders on this channel that will know that what the registrations are and what the actual attendance are completely different. But I actually see the YouTube numbers, and the YouTube numbers on the more interesting meetings, sometimes the more quirky ones with the people that can't get to, the numbers go through the roof. I've sort of got the job of editing all this stuff and putting it online as well. Sometimes I'm behind on that. Sometimes I'm sort of okay. But I know when I'm getting a little bit too behind is when people email me to say, when's this recording going to be online? Because I want to watch it. It just goes on. Fraser was here earlier. I don't know if he's actually still here or not. You know, Scott's presented twice. People are coming back all the time. You know, Frederick, when they first launched Data Changemakers, is can we do a session on that? Sure. Let's just fit you in on a time that makes sense to actually do that launch. It just keeps going on. It'll just keep going on next year as well. You know, Agatha was the next one. It was just like, no one needs to attend this presentation, right? Everyone knows what this error is. Everyone's seen it a million times before. Everyone knows the answer. But her pitch on what it is, how to address it, and some of the tricks that she's actually shown how to do that, just awesome, very funny. Obviously, she was on stage doing this in TC25 as well. Ludo's take on music, Anne's reflection on her hackathon, where she won $7,000 in the Tableau Next hackathon. By the way, there's a hackathon coming up quite soon.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, just every one of these is gold. You know, Andy's here today with what he did with the self-service report thing, report builder thing. Sorry, thing's always a technical term. There was one here I missed. Roshni with the accessibility matters. Another one where you just, the humor throughout the presentation of that is just awesome. It's just good to watch. It's good to have the recording so you can actually go through and watch it again, because there's going to be things you miss on all of these. The attendees. So again, as much as I say it's for the presenters, it's for the attendees as well. Again, a shout out of Bevy. Thank you, Anne, for coming to 25 meetings. Jacob was leading a few weeks ago and just switched over. But, you know, these guys don't have to come. Zaid lives in Egypt, and there for a while he was attending meetings. I'm going, what's the time in Egypt? It's like 2 in the morning. Oh, yes, but I had to attend the tug. Just crazy stuff. You know, and as much as I joke and go, watch the recording when it's 2 o'clock in the morning, he wants to be here. He has to be here to watch it type thing. Survey time. So the one thing, or the biggest thing I'm going to change from now leading on, is there's no Fast 5 anymore. If there's one thing that's hard to do with the tug, for me, is to come up with a Fast 5, because it was going to be just, or it was always, 5 quick answers, quick questions, AI generated, not the same question twice. But AI basically has a way of writing the same question differently all the time, and I just can't pick up on that. So we've done 250 questions in Fast 5. We're not doing Fast 5 anymore, or I'm not doing Fast 5 anymore. What I want to do instead, what's the next slide? Okay, cool. Is this. So, has everyone got their phones? I don't even know how to do this part of it. I can do this part of it. I can do this part of it. Okay, Mentimeter. For those of you who don't know what Mentimeter is, just scan the QR code on your phone. I'm doing the same as well. And we're going to do a few quick, simple little questions.
Yeah, that's a QR challenge, isn't it? When you're on your phone, you got, yeah. You have to go to menti.com and enter the numbers.
Which is when you look at the left side of your screen, and I'll put the number in the chat. Sorry, Paul. So that graph was actual attendees, not registrations. The registrations are a lot more, but I know that not every person gets to every meeting. That's cool. Sometimes it's a challenge for me to get to every meeting, but I'm running the thing. We've got 11 people in. We're missing a few people. If you don't want to...
By the way, while we're waiting, I'll just say thank you so much for all those questions. It feels a little self-indulgent answering all those, but hopefully that was good for everyone.
I know, it was good.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Thank you.
We'll do a part 2. I hope.
That'd be amazing.
We've got 15. I'm waiting for 3 more if we can. If anyone doesn't want to use Menti, let me know. I've never done this before. I think what I do is I click on next slide, right?
Yeah.
Easy question to begin with.
State and country only.
Or anything, really. I just didn't want people typing in their address. Word clouds, right?
Tableau veered from the path. But they work. Look at that. They work, right?
They work, right? An interactive word cloud. Who would have guessed?
Fine. Oh, yeah, we can spam likes. Look at that. That's me.
Oh, that's you. I think I also actually, you can put in more than one answer as well. I was worried about that.
Yeah.
Just waiting on 3 more people.
You rarely get 100% response in the time you expect.
That's fine.
Chris, that's my experience.
And I just dropped it on people as well, right? It's just like, oh, you're just sitting back, having a meeting. Oh, sorry. There's work to do. Or we'll move on, because it's not 100% participation. It's just something interesting. Cool. Next question. What industry do you work in? Oh, I can just go to the next question.
Oh, that's rubbish. Sorry, that's my answer. That's rubbish. Shout out to all you higher ed people. You know, I was at Oxford University prior to Tableau, working in student admin. Good times. I see now my word data is dominant. Oh, maybe.
Currently none. Industry. Okay, cool. Let's move on. What topics would you like to see presented at this tug? Now everyone's sort of going, oh, that's the hardest question yet. That's the easiest answer anyway. There's a not Tableau next. Interesting. Pie charts.
Oh, that's great. Oh, somebody said not tab next. Somebody said tab next. I like any and all being the biggest.
I sort of wasn't going to vote. When I saw any and all, I went, yep, that's cool. Okay, we'll move on. Can I? Oh, okay, there is a timer, but I don't want to put a timer on it. Pie charts, not pie charts. Tab next, not tab next. Someone said Tableau public dashboards, and I thought there was another. No, that is the comment. Just moving it around. Okay, we'll move on. Trick question. How many years have you been using Tableau?
Oh my. I'm going to guess I win this. Not that, no, hang on. Win is the wrong word, isn't it? I'm going to guess I've got longest longevity here. I'll be delighted if not.
That's what I put in the buckets.
Wow, look, there's a lot of veterans. So everyone knew, if you're 0 to 2 or 3 to 5, that's fantastic. I love that people are still flocking to Tableau.
Yep, and I haven't been reading the comments. In the chat, Anne said 2012, I was 2014, Andy was 10 or 11.
Yeah.
You know what, it just doesn't matter. This is why I've never had this question in Fast 5, because who cares? Everyone comes from different experiences, different, the whole thing's different. Okay, but that's what I'm going to do in the future, is this sort of Menti style survey that will be in the YouTube presentation as well, right? When the YouTube recording. So I know we're over time. The other offer, and sorry, we're over time. We'll run for, I don't know, probably another 20 minutes. If you need to leave.
I'm afraid I have to leave.
Well.
So
okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Farewell, everybody. I will delightfully do this again if you want me back.
I definitely think we want you back.
Cool.
And we'll look in another time for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. See you all soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Andy. Bye.
For those that are left, this was sort of the, when I was putting out things for this meeting is what do we do? And someone said, let's do a fast X for me. So fast 5, but I don't know how many things are going to be. And I think you've got some questions.
I do indeed. All right. So I have Raj's questions because it's the middle of the night and he's asleep. His first question is, what was the funniest question or moment that happened on a live call?
In the tug? I don't know. The funniest thing on a live call recently, not this tug, is when a presenter was halfway through doing their presentation and dropped out. And I think we've sort of had a similar thing here, but everyone's sort of watching the presentation and the presenter actually disappears and everyone sort of goes, oh, and it's just like, what happened? Like halfway through a sentence, they just go. The funniest question for this tug, I can't remember anything specifically. The funniest situation, I think, was when Will and Kyle did VizQL, and I realized that I'm not muted and I'm laughing at all the jokes. So I had to quickly just do this and mute myself so that I wasn't laughing. So my laughter wasn't louder than what they were talking about, because it was just, a half hour of just belly laughs the whole time. I still don't think I got all the jokes because I missed half of them. But yeah, probably that was the funniest part of a tog. There's obviously a lot of things that we do that just don't make it onto the recording because I chop them out for various reasons. The bit at the start, the bit at the end, and a few little bits in the middle to try and make it work better.
If tug sessions came with bloopers, what moment would make the highlight reel?
Oh, sorry. So that was the last one as well. What I tend to cut out that you don't see is the little bits where people go, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes, we can see your screen. Okay, let's continue on. And it just, I do that for 2 reasons. Is it's good to see that live, but you don't need to have that in a recording. And also, I was sort of influenced to do the audio podcast as well, that I listen to as well, because there's a lot of times when my head is not buried in a screen. And I don't need to hear that in an audio podcast. You don't need to see that on YouTube, but you've actually just got to, when you hear live, you've got to deal with that, because that's part of the thing. But I cut that out of every tug recording, is if I can, when people are, if there's a glitch or if there's a movement, or even things like when the connection's bad. Like if you were here for Agata's presentation, it was nothing to do with her. Her internet quality was bad, and it was a little bit cutting up all the time, and I actually cut all those bloopers out. So when you watch it, it just sounds like one continuous sentence. But if you were here, it was a little bit on the way through because of her internet speed.
Good to know. Thank you for all that work you do for us.
That's okay.
Who is your dream guest for a future session? No limits. absolutely anyone.
My dream guests would be everyone from the community that presents at anything that people can't get to. So as I just said before, any in-person presentation. I'd been joking for a long time that, you know, there should be a tug in my area, but we're so close to Sydney that there's a Sydney tug and there can't be a tug in my area. And it was just a joke. And I saw one where it's just like, oh, I really need to see that presentation and it's in a different country. And you can't justify going to that country for a 1 hour presentation. And then I went, I'll build a tug. Can I do this with Tableau? Because they weren't accepting new tugs at the time. They only do that once a quarter. I went, hey, I need to do this for the reasons I wanted to do it, but also TC25 was coming up, and do people need to prepare, or after TC25, because they're not recorded, do people actually want that facility? And that was a guess, but the answer is obviously yes. So my dream guest, no, there's a guest list of just everything. Sorry.
Okay. What is the one thing hosting 50 sessions has taught you about the DataFam?
I don't think the 50 tugs have taught me anything about the DataFam that I didn't already know. The knowledge is endless. Everyone's got a different way of presenting. It sort of comes back to what I said with the Garter session is, I don't need to attend a presentation on cannot mix aggregate, non-aggregate calculations. That's just, everyone knows that, right? But not everyone knows it. And even teaching that for 11 years that I've been teaching Tableau as well as using Tableau, her angle's different. Every session that we've done so far, every session we will do next year, even if it's a subject you know, there's something in there that you won't know, or there's a different presentation, or there's a different comment about, oh yeah, never thought of it that way. There's crazy things that Tristan does where, you know, apparently even last week he was showing how two people can edit the one workbook at the same time. Crazy stuff. But yeah, I learned something in every session, but you know, the DataFam knowledge is endless.
Now my questions, little drier. What is the one data thing that had you reacting like a deer in headlights?
What's the one data thing? This is hard. See, this is where it gets really hard. I think the one data thing the one data thing like in forever that I've seen is I get really freaked out when really large companies that should know the difference run on Excel, like they run on Excel. There are so many large businesses out there and they've got Alteryx and they've got Tableau and they've got this and they've got this and they've got this, and all their data is just Excel's being thrown around the place, to the point where sometimes Excels get too big and they go, oh, we can save it as an Excel binary file instead. Like, can you stop using Excel? It's not a database, it's a spreadsheet. There's reasons why you would use Excel, not for storage of highly confidential company-wide data. That should be in a database.
Good answer. Why did you start the DataFam Tug? Well, you kind of already told us that. If there's anything you'd like to add.
No, it was just for that. It's just, you know, presenters who present at an in-person meeting put as much effort into every other one that does things online. So give them an avenue to redoing their presentations online so it can be recorded.
What is the most underrated design or visual element in your opinion?
What is the most underrated design or visual element? Can I say just a simple bar chart?
Sure.
Because that's probably the best, the easiest thing that everyone understands, and it's not, you know, pie charts are simple as well, but people don't understand when they're wrong. But just a simple bar chart sometimes, just to see the data.
There's a lot of power in a good bar chart.
Yep.
Was 50 meetings in a year a goal, or did it just happen that way?
No, it wasn't a goal. My goal was for one a week. And it was only in about early November, and I just went, hang on, because obviously I've got a spreadsheet behind this, or I've got several spreadsheets behind the scenes to manage all this stuff. And I can't even think who it was. I think it might have been Andy Holt or someone. And I went, I might be able to do 50 before Christmas. I might be able to sneak 50 in, like on about the 18th of December, I might get to 50. And here we are at the 5th at 50 already, because I'm silly. And, you know, if I take that 50 hours at TC and do 1 hour a week, well, I don't do 1 hour a week, I do more than that. And then things like Anne pops up and says, oh, I need to do my reflections on my hackathon, but the instance dies in 12 days. So I'll just use screenshots. And I went, well, we just have the meeting in the next 12 days. So you've actually got a live presentation. I do crazy things like that. Even for someone this morning, overnight, they messaged me from DataFam Europe about an upcoming meeting. Oh, we want to do it in January and February. I said, well, January and February is a bit full. There's a few weeks where, you know, because my rule is 1 per week, I break the rule all the time. And I'm telling them to break the rule and say, if it needs to be in this week, just do later in the week. Don't do meetings a day apart. Try and do them maybe 3 or 4 days apart. But we can double up, which is why I got to 50 in 9 months, because no, it was never a goal. It was just accidentally happened this way.
What is your biggest motivator?
My biggest motivator? DataFam, helping as many people as I can, giving back to the community. I think those would be the top 3.
Okay. And I think that is my last slide.
Awesome.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Yeah, that's hard, right? That's why other people find it hard, because it's hard.
It is hard.
It's sort of like, it's hard in a good way. That's fine. Anyone else got any other questions? So our next TUG meeting is in a few days, because that's what we always say, right? So Karen's talking about what he did at a company when they were modernizing their month-end reporting and converting it into Tableau. Again, what's this? Workbooks that contain 80 columns and 40 tabs. Exactly what I was talking about. How does that get converted into Tableau and all the problems associated with that? Again, one meeting, all those times. Log on to the Tableau user group website and register for that. The normal spiel, everything is on YouTube. All the other online tugs are on YouTube, hopefully all in the same place. You can watch them on YouTube, or there's a Spotify or Apple podcast, audio only. That sort of helps get through the content sometimes as well. But the same thing, if you need to present, or if you'd like to offer some suggestions for improvement or changes or whatever, it's always team.datafam@gmail.com. Thank you, Andy, for your time. We'll book in another session. And obviously the one more thing is the hackathon's on at the moment. It finishes on the 12th of January. So you've got, what, about 5 weeks to get something up and built. You get access to all the Salesforce software, Tableau Cloud, Tableau Next, Salesforce, Data 360, anything. All those dollars are US dollars. Check your eligibility, because certain countries are not eligible, but I think every country that we've got here is eligible to win prizes with that. If you need some help, there's Q&A in the Slack, there's meetings, there's recorded meetings, there's documentation, there's everything you need to do. Just remember that the closing date is the 12th of January. But thank you guys for your time. I know we went over. I sort of thought we might be going over, but that's okay. We'll get Andy back to answer all those other questions that he missed out on. I think it's just good that he can give us back that time and just be so open in those questions as well. I think it all helps.
Thanks, Chris.
No worries.
Thanks, Chris, for everything that you do. And here's to a great 2026 for the data.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks
everyone. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See ya. Bye.